Hey YouTubers, and welcome back to another episode here today on ESGNet. We're making a return to NCAA 14 football, and this is the Highland Scotties Team Builder Dynasty, and this is the Scotties Sports Talk episode 45. And today we're going to take a quick look at some stats and some numbers here for the Highland Scotties so far here, as they have a bye week here. Of course, we'll also look at some of the recruitments coming up and take a little bit of a look around, or what's going on around in the college world. So as you take a look at the current schedule that we're playing in right now, Highland has been doing pretty well for themselves. They had a really good game there against Kansas and Kansas State back-to-back weeks, and of course they also had a great game there against Nebraska to kick off the season. And we had a lot of really close games there. San Diego State, of course, we played them at home this year. And then we started to pull away there, especially that Illinois game. We had a really nice game against South Alabama, and then of course Utah and California, really close games there. And to be quite honest, I'm really surprised that haven't been defeated yet, especially with that Kansas game where it went down to a 24-23 game. That game really made me nervous and really made me think, like, okay, we got to make a quarterback change. And that's what we did with Norton. As you see there, Norton's numbers here so far for the season: 1,414. As for rush, 2,001 yards passing. And it's just been a tough year for our quarterback rush. I don't think we'll see him. I'd be very surprised if he is a round 2 type of person going into the NFL, because that was what we promised. But he just had a really rough go there. But he started to pick things up, especially in that Georgia Tech game where he came in there and kind of took over and just showed what he can do. And of course, he's been getting better and better week after week after week. But he's had some slip-ups here and there with those interceptions, which is not like him from the previous season. Of course, he was kind of off on and off the field during that time last season. Take a look at some of your receiving numbers there. Godfrey, oh my goodness, this freshman has been amazing. I've been having so much fun throwing to him. Almost, he's just 200 yards shy of getting 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns for the season. Little, just as well. He's just about 300 yards from getting to 1,000. He has 11 touchdowns. And Ramirez, the other freshman who's been a breakout, 900 yards for him as he's taken over pretty much that position as the tight end. He's now going to be tight end number 2 again as we get Tolbert back, as Tolbert has 686 yards passing with only 2 touchdowns for the season. And it's going to be nice having Tolbert back there. And Tolbert, he said, I talked to him this past week as he was getting ready for practice, and he said, he basically did the same thing that Hunter Cannon did for him when he got hurt, and to help the next man up, to really help Ramirez out, and just told him how to play, just help him study the playbook, look at film. And Hunter was kind of joking, or I should say Tolbert was kind of joking about it. He says, he wants to make this tight end Highland. He wants to make that be something really notable, and so far that's been the case here for a lot of the tight ends that we've had so far. And these are just the 3 that we've had so far that have been really awesome and great, and being a really release valve for our quarterbacks that we've had so far here in the short 4 years that we've been in playing in Division 1. So let's take a look at our numbers here for our defense. Oh my goodness, Danny Tisdale, 74 tackles there for the season, 13 tackles for loss, 5 sacks for him. Collins, another great player. Weaver, he's been awesome too, 56 tackles for him. He has 13 tackles for loss and 2 sacks. And then we just go on down the line here. I mean, there's so many other names. Montgomery, another name, who has 29 tackles, 9 tackles for loss, 2 sacks. And then Gallagher, 20 tackles, 13 tackles for loss, and 8 sacks for him, along with Ellis right behind him with 16 tackles, 13 tackles for loss, and also, or I should say, 4 sacks there for him. This offensive line is not the same offensive line. I mentioned this at the start of this season, but not having Sheldon Sherman, of course, now we're not going to have his younger brother Shane Sherman here. as he's going to Wisconsin. But having Sheldon Sherman was a big gaping hole there in defense. I mean, we don't have the aggressive player there on the edge much here, but the guys that were stepping up here, even some of the second string guys, are really doing a great job when they get out on the field there. And I will say we'll probably have some good impact players there on the defensive side of the ball. Unfortunately, Ramsauer, he's going to be gone, and I believe Shane Weaver too, or Weaver might have another year or so. But we do have quite a few freshmen there, especially that freshman right there, Reggie Owen, who has 5 interceptions there, 20 tackles, and this young man has been clutch for us in many situations. Remember the interception he had just a couple of games ago? He was very impressive, and he's been showing what he can do there in that corner position, as stepping up and taking over that position this season. And I think we'll see more of that coming up here in the near future. I really hope that he'll have a breakout type of season. I hope he does not have that sophomore slump once we go into the Big 12 next season. Starting in season 5, we'll be starting and going to the Big 12 along with BYU. And where I'm hoping that, Coach DeBond says he's trying to he wants to be the team that makes a difference in the defense there. And that's something he really has been stressing on and been harking at the boys there. Going into this, getting ready for the Big 12 play starting next season. So we'll go ahead and look at the rest of your numbers there. But overall, this has just been a very impressive season here. It was a slow start there. Wasn't for sure how things were going to go. And like I said, especially that Kansas and Kansas State game, both being on the road, and we'll see them more often as we will be on the Big 12 North next season. It was something. I could not believe that we, were, that those two games were that close. And I was very shocked and surprised the way that QB from Kansas was playing. I need to look up and see exactly what year he is, because if he's there next year, that is going to definitely be something new when Kansas. I don't know if Kansas will be coming up here or not, because this will be new to the league, and they'll have a new way of scheduling things. But nonetheless, here it's going to be very interesting seeing how that's going to play out, because I was very impressed with that quarterback there, with the way he was playing. Matt Davison, you got to say this kid has been doing a great job. Again, another slow start there for this young man here. Of course, he had to come off the bench because Alexander was hurt, and we had to have a replacement. And he came in as a second string guy, coming in there, not really knowing the playbook, not knowing, knowing only the role that he was playing as, which was the backup. But after a couple of games there, he really started picking things up, and he's had a great, amazing season. Tolbert there, you see, bruised shoulder. He's been gone for quite some time now. He's probable, and we're hoping he'll be able to make it to that BYU game. Take a look at our top 25 right now. And look at Highland, of course, at number 1. Right behind it is Florida. And then you see the rest of the top 10 there in the top 25 poll. And then you see some, not really too much of a change there in the top 4. But once you get to the top 5, 6, 7, 8, you start seeing some shifts there. Guys moving down a spot or two, or moving up a spot or two. And things are really getting shooken up. There you see Nebraska dropping from number 8 last week, going down to number 15, and then LSU going from they losing to Auburn. Wow. So Coach Alan Lawrence there losing the game there, first game as a LSU head coach there, lost to them, and they have dropped down. There you see the ones that missed this week's top 25. Now take a look at the BCS numbers here and look at the computer, what they're showing right there, and they're saying we're number 1, or actually it shows us as number 2, but we're number 1 overall in the coaches poll there. But Florida jumps over us there, and we have the same exact points, but I guess is the strength of schedule. So that could be, if we play everything out, if we can win this game against BYU and see how things work out. But those could be the top 2 teams we'll see for another, or at least Kansas, or I should say Highland, going for their 3rd straight national championship. And really, to be honest, I have not really did nothing with this series. I'm really blown by how this series has turned out so far here, and I feel like we're jumping the shark early because we're going national champ. The first year we went to national championship, wasn't expecting that to happen. And then years 2 and 3, we just take off and we win back-to-back national champions. And here we are now going for number 3. And I really thought by year 3 we were going to be at this point and win our first national championship. But what Coach Teddy Bonds, what his game plan is, he came in here, he knew what he was doing, and so he's doing a great job so far with this school. Take a look at some of the bowl predictions there. You guys can check those out. But for the most part here, recruiting wise, Coach Teddy Bonds said he had no restrictions. He said that he has a great way of he's a team builder. I mean, he is. That's what the series is about. And he has pipelines in Florida and Texas from all his early days as coach. Of course, coach as a offensive coordinator for the Nebraska Cornhuskers, and eventually being the head coach for the Cornhuskers prior to, of course, YouTube and whatnot. But he's got a great way of just selling it. He tells it just how it is, what he's going to do, especially with the tiny school like Highland. There's not much really for the students to do. They're about an hour and a half maybe from Kansas City, Missouri, where really they can really get things going there. But for the most part here, he does not shy away. It's a small town, it's a small quiet town, retirement town, probably one of the smallest college towns in the world, and he just wants to make sure these young men know what they're getting themselves into. And he does a great job here running this as a well-oiled machine. And I think a lot of coaches, especially in the Big 12 now, since we're going to be in it, I've at least talked to a lot of the coaches there within that league and really throughout the college scene, and they say they like what he does, and a lot of them are trying to mimic in that, especially like Coach Alan Lawrence. He worked with him for many years, and he's trying to do the same thing with LSU. Take a look here as we get into some recruiting here. We've got some recruitment lockouts here, but we do have some players here that we're still trying to hold on to, like Zane Reed, outside linebacker, and we're trying to see if we can try to get something here, trying to get him to figure out what he exactly wants or needs for him to sign. He is top of our list, or I should say we are on top of his list. Ismail Daly, remember ID they call him, from Iowa City, Iowa. Another young man there, a wide receiver who has some really great speed. Take a look there at some of his numbers there. Great, decent catch there for him. And we're just trying to see if we can get him over. And of course, we got a lot of guys we're getting been locked out of quite some time there. And really, to be honestly, we're not going to be able to reach them, like Rashford, Rusev, Karev, and of course some others there that I've personally had a chance to talk to when they visit the campus there, and just got to know them, and just they understand what this school is all about and what they got to do to it. And Coach Teddy Bond says, he says everybody's position's on the line, but regardless of if you're a senior or not, if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing on and off the field, you will be replaced. No matter what, regardless of who you are and what you are. And where you come from. So I don't know if that shied away from some of those young men there, like Blanchard there, the DN that we've been trying to go after. But for the most part here, the ones that have been on our list here in the top 3, I think they're buying into what Coach Teddy Bonds is saying. But at the same time, they have not made that commitment just yet. And of course, we're just months away from final commitments on signing day there in February. And we're hoping to try to get some of those young men here signed early. I think we have a couple of these young men here that we still have left on our list showing up to BYU next weekend, or I should say they're in Highland, as BYU making their first appearance in Highland. But yeah, it's we'll just have to see how things go. That man young right there, that's one of our guys there that you guys have created, Diego Rizzo. He's from Atchison, Kansas. He is a kicker, but he also has traits of possibly being a wide receiver. You don't see his wide receiver numbers there, but you see some of his kicking numbers there. And we'll of course unlock those. Those are some of the ones that I told you, I've mentioned to several people here on the channel that they could create, and I would be a little creative how they would how I would introduce them, or how they would be brought onto the team, kind of like quote unquote a walk-on player, but they would be able to play like kind of like a Iron Man kind of a player. They can play on both sides of the ball, but being restricted to a certain level. I think I made it like 70 overall was their max that they could max out to for that and whatnot. And we'll talk more about that kind of stuff maybe in another future video here on the channel as we go into the off season. But again, take a look here. We got some new names here on our list, our board here. James McDonald's another one of those guys we're looking at. Eric Landry, he's from Texas. So he's a 4-star guy. And you know, I know a lot of YouTubers out there that do NCAA franchise or dynasties and stuff like that. They restrict themselves a lot, but you know, honestly, on this series, we're not going to restrict ourselves of who we go after. If we can go after a 5-star guy and convince him to come, hey, that's awesome. If we can convince a 1-star guy to get here, that's even awesome. We're just trying to find whoever we can that wants to, play football and get a chance to get the opportunity. And that's what it's all about, opportunity to play in collegiate football. That's what we're looking for. Yes, we're not going to take just anybody and everybody, and of course we will have to make cuts when they need to be, but we are definitely looking for people that want to play, as we have some more quote-unquote athletic guys. There you see some so-called kickers, and don't, like I said, don't let those numbers confuse you, because those are not the actual numbers for some of those players, especially those athletic players down there below. That were also created by you guys. And of course, some of those actually, surprisingly enough, were actually created by myself with a combination with my buddy Steve, who I talked to about. You guys have at least heard Steve here on the channel as Coach McShay Lovelady, as his character is here on. And we'll have him actually coming up here pretty soon here in another off-season video. Once we start seeing some of the new guys that we're going to be looking at for next year's board, and we'll have that here right after the I believe it'll be during the off season when we show those players, and you'll hear from him on that. But we'll also take a look here. We got some team news as we do sim the week 14 here. You see Josh Allen there. You see not the Josh Allen, but another Josh Allen, 75 overall, strong safety. He is committed to USC. And then, of course, we got some other players that we locked out of. Again, Alan Smith, Alex Blanchard, Stacy Copeland we're in a battle with. Myron Davis we're also in another school battling with. And, of course, more lockouts. But Diego Rizzo has signed with us, and we'll see what his potential or what position he'll play at, of course, in the offseason there. And but he is one of the big names that we're really excited about, because that young man can play a lot of different positions, but it depends on where we're going to be able to put him at and where we'll need him. We'll basically have him in a position of need, in that, and that's why those players, if you want to create a player like that, will be shown here on the channel. But we'll go into it because I do have 20. Players already. I believe Steve has created a couple for this upcoming season when we go into season 5, along with some other people that have submitted some recruits. If you guys want to submit a recruit, you can. I will leave a pinned comment down below of how you guys can submit a character to for next year's series and whatnot. There are some restrictions. I read new things here because for people that want to be on the series, and it's not something you have to do it, but if you want to have your character be exclusively onto the series and be on here and be a major part, you're gonna have to join the Patreon page there. There's a link down below. You guys can check that out. But each tier has different ways you got your character, not just for this series, but a future series that we have on other games of Madden and stuff like that. You can get more. You can have more say-so of what your character can do and whatnot for the squad or the team or whatever the case may be. You go down. There will, like I said, there will be a pinned comment down here below on what I'm looking for players and whatnot. And like I said, the max is anywhere between 70 to 75. If you want to be a player that can play on both sides of the ball, I say 70. But normally it's 75. But there are some new restrictions to that. So look at the pinned comment down below to find out what those are. Because I have changed some of those because of what I've had on Patreon. And if you want to be a part of that, go to the Patreon page there. There's a link down below in the description that will each tier will tell you what your character can do and cannot do to be a part of this series or future series in football or any other sport. So thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed today's video. Please leave a like. But we will be taking on BYU 7-4 in Week 15, the season finale and it's senior day. So we're gonna hopefully see some of the seniors out there, and hopefully we'll see you out there watching this game and hopefully bring home a victory. But that's it, and we'll wrap this up. As always, if you guys enjoyed today's video, please leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe and check us out on Patreon and our Facebook, Twitter, and Discord. Check those out down below. And as always, keep yourselves healthy, and I will see you guys next time.